Now is that in focus? Have you ever asked that question every time you go out and do Milky Way photography? I know I have. I'm Aaron King from Photog Adventures, and tonight I'm going to show you our favorite way to get perfect focus on the stars every time. There are 5 easy steps to make sure that you get really sharp focus when you're out there, but it requires a camera body that has a nice LCD screen that has a live view. If you don't have live view, you're already cutting your chances of getting perfect focus, but it's okay. Get the best focus you can. So here are my 5 easy steps of how I get a perfect focus every time, and let's go ahead and bring down all the lights and focus on the star. You can see my back of my camera. This is a Canon 6D, and you can see my star over here. The dark sky site that we're at right now is just inside the studio with all the lights turned off and a small lamp way over here to be our focusing star. The very beginning, you want your settings on your camera to have as bright of settings as possible, which means the widest aperture. You're out at this Tamron's 2.8. F2.8 is the widest it goes. If your best is 3.5, then go to 3.5. So you're at the widest, you're letting in the most light possible. The other thing is you want to make sure that your shutter is on the longest shutter possible. If you've seen the exposure simulation on the back of the LCD screen, it shows you what happens when you have it at the longest shutter and it brightens up. And then you're going to make sure that you have your ISO set for the highest that you can possibly go. You want to make sure that the view on this LCD screen is seeing all that it possibly can. And you can see that now you've got this one star that you picked out. Your goal is to find the brightest star in the sky. The brightest that is in your frame, field of view. It doesn't matter where you go on the sky to find it because you're going to move away from it to find your composition. It's not important where that star is. It's just that it's the brightest, easiest for you to see. The reason why I choose a star instead of going for maybe my light source that I'm using for light painting, or if I wanted to go off and find some street light in the distance. The reason why I use a star is because I personally prefer that I'm trying to get my stars looking awesome, and so I want to see how awesome they're looking. I'm going to see the planet. I'm going to see the star inside my frame and go, okay, that's as tight as I really can get it. That's going to look awesome in my image. If I was taking a picture of an artificial light, then I can use that. But artificial light will also have more lens flaring and other strange things that happen to it. And so I prefer just using a star. The star source is so tiny that the lens flaring doesn't happen as much and you can really get tight. And my personal preference is before I go with stars, I find my planets. So know your planets. This last year, the planets that were in the sky were Jupiter and Saturn, and I could focus on them. Last year was Mars. And so I had Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter last year to choose from. And this year was Jupiter, and Saturn I rarely used because it was right on top of the Milky Way core this year. And so I looked for Jupiter, found it earlier in the evening, and I set my focus up on Jupiter, and then I would go to my composition and I would check my shot there after I take a capture and see, okay, looks like the focus is working out pretty well. One tip when you're out there and you're trying to find the brightest planet and you can't see anything on the back of your LCD screen, it might be because you're so out of focus you can't even see any of the pinpoints of light. So right now, here's an example. I'm so out of focus, I can't see anything. And so you move your focus ring back and forth. See how that one star is starting to show up? And then I'll zoom in on it and you can see what I mean. Let's go to 10 times. Here it is going out of focus to the point that it's so fuzzy, I can't even see it anymore, right there. So you can see how it goes from being visible to not being visible. And so on some nights, you're going to find yourself out there trying to find that star, and you can't because there's nothing showing up. So make sure that before you change any other settings, once you've gotten the brightest settings possible, longest shutter, highest ISO, and you got the widest aperture, and you're still not seeing anything, make sure you're pointing towards a really bright star you see with your eye, and then just start doing this, moving that focus ring back and forth. And you'll realize, oh, okay, there they are. Now they're showing up. So now that you found your brightest star, your brightest thing, you want to make sure you put that on the center point of your lens. Even the Rokinon has a crazy spherical lens that has a very, very heavy distortion on the edge. Now, Coma's not so bad in both of these, so it's not terrible, but there's more distortion on the outer parts of your lens than it is in the very front of the element. So I like to put it dead center so I have the best opportunity to make sure that that star isn't, flayed off to one side or the other, and I'm trying to focus a weird oblong star. I want to focus a circle as best I can. The next step, which is to use your 10 times magnification on the back of your LCD screen. So now remember, in live view, you're going to have a magnifying glass on a Canon, or in your menu system, you're going to find a way to zoom in, or sometimes in your info system, you can tap on your screen and zoom and get that magnifying glass. It's allowing you to do an LCD magnification, and it's a digital magnification, and that's your first step, is to get that digital magnification to 10. And so when you start doing a magnifying glass, it starts giving you a square on the Canon 6D. And you want to make sure that that stays in the center. This isn't moving on the lens, it's just zooming in on it and changing it on the LCD screen. You just want to make sure that it's in a spot on your LCD screen that's easy for you to zoom in on. I wouldn't put it here next to any of these other lights. I would put it something like this, where it's away from everything else. It's kind of got its own isolated spot that you can focus on the light of that circle and get your focus. I like to do my focus right there on location, right before I capture my image. And using my Carson Lumiloupe is my major trick. Let me show you why it benefits me so much. Now that I'm at my 10 times zoom, I can go in and out on my focus, and I can see how this big dot becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it sort of transitions from smaller to larger again. How do you possibly find this point where it stops going larger and smaller? I mean, as close as I look at this, I still have a hard time seeing it. I would think maybe right there. And that's where I pull out my secret weapon. And when you get that magnifying glass loop, because of that cup that's on the end, the focus point is right where you put it. And this cup holds it back from the LCD screen to the magnifying lens inside here at the exact distance it needs to be so that it's in focus on the inside of the ring. So all you have to do is put your eyeball right up against it. So with this iPhone holding it right up against the Lummi Loop, it can't be as perfect as your eyes will see it, but you're gonna see what I mean when I zoom in and out right here, how in the Lummi Loop, you can see the fuzz get smaller, 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 and you even have a chance to see those pixels that are on the screen. And using those pixels as your guide, you can be like, well, that's 6 across. If I go out, that's 7. Okay, down to 6. Does it ever go to 5 across? Oh, no, it does go to 5 across. Okay, yeah. 5 across works. And let's go down. Okay, no, it starts going out to 6 again. So then I just keep turning my focus until I see 5 across again on the pixels, and boom, I know I have focus. I was just talking to Remberg, who was out there the other night, and he got his focus point to infinity in the daytime and then went out at night, and his focus wasn't solid. Why wasn't his focus solid? Well, I'll tell you. People say, try out in the daytime, get something that's in the distance, focus on it, make sure it's set, and then you can mark it off on your lens. You can say, hey, okay, when this is right here, I'm set. Particularly this Rokinon, you can actually see the lens moving around, and so you can mark off a point right here and say, when I have this white line right about here, I'm in focus. And this could be your infinity point always. The only problem is that this is a range. The infinity focus point is a range on most lenses because of conditions. And one of the biggest conditions that change your infinity focus point is the condition of cold and warm. If I'm outside in the summer and I go in the afternoon and I get my infinity point focused and then I go out at night and it's barely changed 10, 20 degrees, it's not going to be a big deal. My infinity point is not going to change all that much, which is why people recommend that all the time, because typically they go out in the summer, and when they do it in the summer and they get their focus point, it stays true. Then there's people like me and guys like Brendan who go out in the spring, summer, and winter. Then you get out there and you're in 30, 20 degree temperatures, and that is really cold. And whatever happens on the inside of your lens, the infinity point changes. So as you can see, why I use this Carson Lumiloupe on here is because it's very easy to keep my focus. I used to use a Belomo 10 times magnifier. It was 30 bucks compared to this Carson Lumiloupe that's only $5. Depending on the day, it's somewhere around $4 to $8. Right now, I think I checked, it's $4.99. So if you get this on Amazon, there'll be a link below the video. This Carson Lumiloupe is fantastic. Cheap plastic, but it works perfectly. Because of this cup and the way that it sits at its perfect focus distance, all you have to worry about is just jamming it on there and making sure that it's focused. Bonus. Gaffer's tape. You heard me mention it already. You can see on my tripod, I keep a bunch right here that I can share, not only to tape off all the lights that are happening on my camera so that I can be a nicer person around others who are doing photography, but so that I can tape off my focus. You saw that it's on my Tamron already, especially this Rokinon. I mean, look at this guy. Very little effort to change this focus ring. Because this guy is not a zoom, it's a prime, the entire part right here is your focus ring. It's so easy to bump. The Tamron, you've got the zoom in and out that you can touch without touching this focus ring, and the focus ring has a little bit of force before it turns, and so it doesn't go as easy as this guy did. So a nice big fat tape off is perfect on your Rokinon and fantastic for your Tamron. So I would keep some gaffer's tape on your tripod with you so that you can tape off your focus once you get it. It's not about your camera or your lens, it's about the brightest star, brightest settings, and making sure you use an extra help like this that's gonna make sure that you have a very easy time to see that little ball, that blob of light that you're trying to make as tight as possible. So if you guys get out there and you do this and you use this method, let me know, and let me know if it worked for you in the comments down below. Thanks for watching Astrophotog. Again, I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and we'll catch you next time. Hey guys, coming at you a few months later. As you can see, I do not have my beard anymore, but it is about 2 weeks from today that I'm releasing my Milky Way Photography course, my first one. This one's for beginners. So if you ever thought, I've always wanted to go out with someone who knows Milky Way photography, put my tripod next to their tripod, watch what they're doing, what settings they're trying, and learn from that, well, this is the course for you. I'm gonna walk you through planning, composition, lighting, gear, and what gear not to worry about, settings, as well as post-processing. And I'm gonna take you to places like Goblin Valley, Owachomo Bridge at Natural Bridges National Monument, Salt Flats, Mirror Lake, Goosenecks, and some other places that I go and do Milky Way photography and show you what I do on location after showing you in studio why and how I do certain things. So if you ever thought, I would love to have my first 2 years of Milky Way photography experience condensed into 10 hours plus of tutorials online, well then this is for you. It's coming out February 2nd. From now on until February 2nd, I'm releasing a new video every day. So if you're still on the fence and you're thinking, maybe it's not for me, maybe I already know all this stuff, well then watch all my videos that are coming out over the next 10 days, 14 days, and you will see what this course is all about. And I hope you guys like it. Check it out.